Harry Potter, a timeless tale. The story of a magical world filled with adventure, flying broomsticks, friendship, and betrayal that ensnared the hearts of people all around the world. It built a fandom the size of a kingdom and a library of increasingly questionable fanfics. But have you ever stopped to think that maybe the real magic wasn't at Hogwarts, but rather with the woman who created it all, J.K. Rowling? Because before she gave us wands and spells and our ongoing hope for our Hogwarts letter, she had something else: failure. Harry Potter got rejected 12 times. Publishers told her no over and over again, but instead of disappearing underneath her invisibility cloak, she kept going. And she ended up establishing the most successful book series of all time, meaning that all those rejections, that failure, wasn't necessarily a curse, but maybe the magical spell that women have been missing all along. Because what if failure wasn't the opposite of success, but rather the key to it? But even though failure is essential for growth, society treats it different for women, and we need to learn how to reclaim it. Okay. Let's play a game. In your mind, you guys all need to name some men that succeeded before they failed. Are you ready? Go. Okay, so I don't know about you, but I got Steve Jobs, Steven Spielberg, Thomas Edison, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Colonel Sanders, the Beatles, Henry Ford, R.H. Macy. Like, the list could go on. Like, there are entire motivational posters made out of this list. Now, same game, but with women. Apart from J.K. Rowling, who we've already covered, I thought of Oprah, and Candace Nelson from Sprinkles, and Melanie Perkins, the Canva creator. And that's where I got stuck. Now, I'm sure there are many more, but I wondered, why don't as many women initially come to mind as men? We could make the argument that for much of civilization, women just didn't have as many opportunities. But here's the thing. A lot of men I just named, and many more I didn't, lived in the last century. So the real reason? Men are encouraged to take risks. They're told, fail fast, fail forward, especially in the worlds of business and tech, which, let's be honest here, is still mostly a boys' club. Women, on the other hand, are told, be realistic, stop dreaming, and to play it safe. And even when a woman does defy all odds and makes it to the top, the pressure doesn't stop there. In fact, it multiplies. In one experiment, researchers wanted to see how the gender of people in power, CEOs in this case, influenced the gender of their successor. And guess what they found? Let's say that the original female CEO was successful. Then great! People were just as likely to choose another female CEO. In this case, men and women had an equal chance of becoming the next CEO. But let's say that original female CEO was not so successful. Suddenly, people became way less likely to choose another female leader. In this case, men had a greater chance of becoming the next CEO. But here's the crazy part. For men, it didn't matter if they were successful or unsuccessful. Men as a group were still considered just as often for the next CEO position. If a man did bad in his role, nobody said, oh my God, you know what, I guess we can't choose another man. That thought just simply doesn't come up. But for women, one failure becomes every woman's failure. And that's something called gender salience, when one woman's setback is magnified as proof that women in general just aren't good at something. And that takes a real toll. Over and over, studies have shown that women are more likely to internalize failure. They don't just shrug it off and try again, they give up. In academia, if a woman gets rejected, she's more likely to stop submitting papers. In competitions, girls are less likely to try again after a loss. It's not that they can't handle these setbacks, it's that they've been socially conditioned to view their failures as personal flaws, not just part of the process. And when you're already in an environment where you feel like an outsider, every stumble feels like confirmation you don't belong. Men, on the other hand, often chalk their failures up to bad luck or external factors and keep charging forward. That difference, combined with the pressure of representing all women, is what drives them towards this impossible superwoman ideal. Now, the official term is actually called the Superwoman Syndrome. Sounds like a Marvel origin story, right? But it was actually coined in 1984, and it's a lot less fun than flying or shooting lasers out of your eyes. Superwoman Syndrome happens when a woman feels like she has to do everything, and do it perfectly. She stretches herself way too thin, trying to prove that she can handle it all. The house, the job, the kids, the partner, who, let's be honest here, is probably not quite pulling equal weight. And in today's world, women have more opportunities than ever before. They can get jobs, choose their own partners, earn and keep their own money. All things that not too long ago weren't even on the table. But with that freedom comes crushing pressure. Because if they fail at any of it, even a little, they worry they're basically telling the world that you were right. I can't handle it. So instead of asking for help, they double down. They try to prove the world wrong all by themselves. And that's when the burnout hits them. Hard. They start sacrificing their own well-being to show the world the ideal woman. And when other women see this impossible standard, they think, if she's doing all of that, why can't I? And it becomes this endless cycle of, I'm not enough unless I do everything. And honestly, that's exhausting. So here's what I think we're missing. Feminism shouldn't just mean having the same opportunities for women, it also means having the same freedom to fail. The freedom to make mistakes, learn from them, and keep going without being branded as proof that women just can't handle it. Because taking risks, stumbling, and bouncing back, that's how people grow. That's how breakthroughs happen. That's how leaders are made. But if we keep expecting women to succeed flawlessly, they'll never get the chance to experiment, to push boundaries, to try the crazy idea and see if it works. And without that freedom, we lose out on innovation. We lose out on bold leadership. We lose out on voices that could change the world, but never got the chance to because they were too busy trying to look perfect. So maybe what we need isn't just more opportunities for women, it's more space for them to be imperfect, to be bold, be messy, to fail loudly, and then come back stronger. Because real change doesn't come from playing it safe. It comes from taking chances and not being afraid if what happens doesn't go exactly as planned. If we want real change for women, it starts with how we guide and support them at every stage of life. Workplaces should be where they can innovate and make mistakes without fear of it negatively impacting their careers. Schools should foster environments where young women are encouraged to learn, fail, and grow. Parents and mentors should teach girls that failure doesn't define them. It's just part of the process. Let's build a world where women and everyone can fail, and stop holding them to impossible standards of perfection. Instead, let's celebrate their growth, their resilience to keep going, and their courage to push beyond their boundaries. J.K. Rowling's story shows that failure isn't the end of the road, but a necessary part of the journey. Those setbacks she faced were simply stepping stones that ultimately led her to create one of the most successful franchises in the world. Her story proves that the road to success isn't a straight line, but sometimes a detour. But it's the willingness to keep going despite all the bumps in the way that makes all the difference. So, I ask you, what could we do to help women fail more and keep going and get stronger? What could we achieve as a society if we stopped judging mistakes as weaknesses and started seeing them as opportunities for growth? Let's build a world where women and everyone can take risks, fail, and try again. Because that's where the real magic happens. Thank you.